the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, and time shall be no more. And the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair. When the saved of earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, I'll...
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Table of Peter podcast, brought to you by Trinity United Methodist Church. I forgot location. Located at 409 North Wilson Street, Paris, Tennessee. It's been a long day, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. Paris, Tennessee. I am your host, Christopher At-Large, member of the board. And on the other microphone, and the more important microphone, as per the norm, with us today, again, Pastor Emily, the Rabbi Walker. What's up, Pastor Emily?
Hey, Chris. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I don't know if y'all noticed, but I did not attend church yesterday.
We missed you.
I was under the weather a little bit, and it felt a little COVID-ish.
Oh,
then it went away. I feel fine now, just a little tired and groggy, but how was your weekend? Well, I didn't even watch on Facebook or anything.
No.
So
you'll have to. It was a great story on Solomon.
All right, that guy.
And I don't say great because I preached it. I say great because all those stories are great, right? They're all good stuff. But it was on wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yes, wisdom. So hopefully, one of the things that we seek is wisdom, and
absolutely
trying to figure out the best way to do things. Not just having a bunch of facts and knowledge, but how do we take what we know and use it in a way that's going to help us do the right thing every time.
Cool.
So, you got the short mini sermon right there.
Right on.
And so today, hopefully, we're going to circle back a little bit in a way that kind of, we mentioned there were two sacraments last week. I'm pretty sure it came up because we talked about Holy Communion.
Yep.
And so this week, we wanted to talk a little bit about the other sacrament, which is baptism.
Baptism.
Mm-hmm. And so maybe where we start is just what is baptism? We may have some folks out there that would really appreciate it if we just kind of start at the beginning. So what is it? Why does it matter? And Chris, baptism would be a essential part, I think, of how we as believers express publicly our belief or our desire to be part of a church community. And for some people, it's easy for us to express that. And then there are also, we'll see, times when others help us to express that and help us to get started on that journey.
Exactly what is baptism anyway?
Yeah. So baptism, it's special because it's one of those two sacraments we talked about. And baptism is going to be a special, set apart, we would say, an outward sign of an inward grace. I would also add, when we talk about Jesus making a new covenant, and I'll get into this a little bit more as we go, but Jesus, when he came, he made what he says a new covenant. And that new covenant, this is an outward sign of that new covenant where Jesus told his followers to do this as a way to experience God's grace.
Okay.
And so baptism is a visible sign. Like, you cannot really see grace being reflected in somebody's heart. You can't see what God is doing on the inside of a person necessarily. But when God is calling someone into that relationship and they come to this place of awareness, they often want to show this visible sign
through a physical act.
Yes. Tangible things. We've
Right.
talked about tangible ways to experience God. And so it's a way of showing that God's love and grace are already at work in a person's life. That's really something I think that is so important and very Wesleyan, if you will, very much a part of a United Methodist belief system, is that we believe in this fancy thing called prevenient grace.
Prevenient grace.
Yep.
I still don't have a full understanding of that.
Yeah, well, I think it's something that we just keep talking about, and in the right time and place, it begins to make more sense. And so one of the things I would share with our listeners is prevenient grace. It's two words put together, pre, meaning before, that
Right.
prefix, pre, and venient, is a word for to go. So prevenient, it's the grace that goes before we even know God. That love that God has for you, it exists and it is present and it is pursuing you, wanting you to come into a relationship with Him even before you know God, before you know, oh, I'm a sinner and I need saving. God's love for you is always with you and always pursuing you. And so that prevenient grace is already at work in a person's life. And in baptism, they use water as a symbol to represent spiritual cleansing, to start this new life with God. And the act, it's a way to publicly show that someone's becoming part of a Christian community. And no matter what age you are, when someone is baptized, it means they're being welcomed into that Christian community, kind of like officially part of God's family. And so what makes baptism even more special is it's not something that we just do by ourselves. It's something that involves the whole church.
Right.
And I love that part of it. I am so really impressed with the way that we lean into community, that we don't see the faith journey as some solo act, but yet it is a love and a relational way that we live and move and have our being. So it's something that involves the whole church, and it's a celebration that God's promise to always be with us, starting from that first moment of our lives, and this baptism is this new life that we start as part of this faith community. So not just a personal decision per se, not just a personal start, but it involves a community.
Now, who all's allowed to baptize? Am I allowed to baptize somebody?
Chris, in the United Methodist Church, the clergy are the ones who are given that responsibility to do that. And I think part of that is because we try our very best, I hope, to help educate people on what that is, what that looks like. And so depending in the United Methodist Church, there are different, educational backgrounds of clergy.
Right.
And as clergy lean into their calling, whatever that educational background is, depending on, as a licensed local pastor, I perform baptisms and weddings and things like that for the churches where I'm appointed.
Okay.
So I'm licensed to do that in the churches where I'm appointed, and for those people that are part of this faith community that I serve. Now,
I would never try. I would just inquiring.
Sure, interesting.
I don't think it would count if I tried anyway.
Yes, and those who have completed those educational requirements, which is what I'm working on, Chris.
Yes,
I'm working on those. I put Hebrew to rest Friday. Woohoo!
Are you speaking fluent Hebrew now?
Oh no, not at all. But I can write the letters of the alphabet.
Okay.
I can say the sounds and recognize some words. So hey, let's just take our victory where we can get it.
Right.
And so anyway, with those who have completed that educational that background, then they go through a process to be ordained, and ordained clergy in the United Methodist Church can perform baptisms for anyone, anywhere, and so I think that as someone who has actually been a part of that, I think it has been important to sort of sit down with that person, given the opportunity, and help share with them this beautiful thing that they are going to claim, and that they are going to be a part of, this thing called baptism. And so it's the roots for baptism go way back.
I was all raised to believe that immersion was the only way to be done.
Yes.
But I've learned differently as I've gone through life.
Yes. And there are still many faith traditions that lean into that is the only way to baptize. And I've actually, I hope, got some interesting scripture to support the United Methodist Church's tradition on that. What I will tell you, though, is when you think about baptism, this symbolism with water, it can be traced back even to the Old Testament, where water represents purification, God's saving acts. Think about the story of Noah. And so Noah, if you'll remember, was the guy that God told him to build an ark, because everyone on the earth was evil. Everyone had evil in their heart, and so God was just kind of, I don't want to say throwing his hands up in the air, but you can just picture the frustration that people were not following him and living out that relationship that he had longed to have with them. And so he found one guy and his family, Noah and his family, who were still honoring God. And so he told Noah to build an ark, and he would take Noah and his wife and his 3 sons and their wives, and they would be on the ark. And then he told him, take all the animals, and he gave them the number of animals that they would take, whether they were clean or unclean. So they get on this ark, and they get it built, they get on the ark, and the floods come, and it rains. Well, this rain wiped out everything, everyone. It was God's way of cleansing and starting new.
Okay.
And so you can picture this way that the flood in Noah's day cleansed and made everything new. So that gives some meaning behind the water that's used in baptism. It's a outward sign of cleansing and making something new. Then I think about also the crossing of the Red Sea. When Moses was bringing all of the Hebrew people out of slavery into Egypt, and they get to this Red Sea, and they've got the Egyptian army pursuing them behind them, and then this wall of water that they cannot figure out, like, where do we go